Welcome to ICan Training Institute. My name is Nilesh and we are going to study about general knowledge today. In general knowledge, our topic for today is Indian defense system. So what exactly is defense? Defense is the protection and maintenance of the borders of a particular sovereign state. The sovereign state in this case is India. So how did our defense start? How it is managed? And what are the different aspects of Indian defense? Let us have a look at it. So there are three professional military forces. There are three professional services. It is the Indian Army, Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force. We have three professional. The Indian Army takes care of the land activities. The Indian Navy takes care of the sea activities, and the Indian Air Force takes care of the aerial activities. Now the President of India is the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces. What happens is the President of India is the Supreme Commander. It's not the Prime Minister, it's not the Speaker of the Lok Sabha or the Defense Minister, it's the President of India. That person is the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces. And the administration of the Indian Armed Forces is done by the Ministry of Defense. So the Ministry of Defense is responsible for the administration. They do it on the behalf of the President of India. Everything that is done in this country is done on the behalf or on the wish of the President of India. So the Prime Minister, they also are working, or they are in their post on behalf of the President of India. So let us have a look at what is the actual structure. Yeah, this is the structure here. So firstly we have the President of India, who is the most important part of the executive. The President of India has the central government under it, which is actually the Prime Minister, the Cabinet and all the ministries that come under it. Under the central government is the Ministry of Defense, which is responsible for the armed forces. Now we did not have this post called Chief of Defense Staff, which is actually a person above all the three ranks. So it has been introduced recently. So there is the Chief of Defense Staff, and then we have the three branches: Indian Air Force, Indian Army and Indian Navy, right? So it is the nomenclature. We call it the Indian Air Force. We just don't say Air Force. We say the Indian Army or we say the Indian Navy, right? Now the armed forces of India, it is the world's second largest military force, and it has the third largest defense budget. So because we are a populous country, we are a vast country, but more than that we are populous, we have an standing army which is the second largest in the world. The only army that is more numerous than our army is the People's Liberation Army of China, the PLA of China, right? So this is how our army is stacked. Now let us look at what is the military strength ranking. Like, if you have a military, you are not going to always go at war with anyone to prove your strength. The strength can be measured in different parameters. So certain parameters are employed to measure the strength of the military. Let us look at what are the strength rankings according to that parameters. So this is the 2024 World Military Strength Index. It's called a power index. The first is of course the United States of America. It has a ranking of 0.0699. Then there is Russia, China, and if you look at it, on the fourth place is India. Now with the Ukraine war, actually Russia is not considered that big a military power, but yes, it has certain capabilities like nuclear capabilities, strike capabilities, which give it a advantage. But if you see, we are at the fourth position. Now what we need to understand is that we are considered a developing economy. Even now we are a country that has become independent, started handling its own affairs more recently. Yeah, China may have started close to us, but they had a more extended period of self-governance. We were under the control of the United Kingdom. So what has happened is, here these countries, if you compare it with these countries, we are in a pretty good position. We are at fourth rank. Maybe we might just climb to the second or third rank. Now we have three numerous, three extremely capable services, the Indian Army, Indian Navy, there needs to be at least one post where coordination can be achieved between these three services. So for that coordination, to ensure that we act as one, strike as one, deliver as one, a new post was created, which is the Integrated Defense Staff, right? Integrated Defense Staff, and the Integrated Defense Staff is headed by the Chief of the Integrated Defense. In short, we call him the CDS, the Chief of the Defense Staff, right? So it is a new post, and it was enacted by government on December 24, 2019. So he is the principal military advisor to the defense minister, right, on all three services. Like whatever is the coordination requirement of the three services, the Chief of Defense Staff will be the single point of contact for the defense ministry. He will be the primary advisor. So the first Chief of Defense Staff was General Bipin Rawat, and he was appointed in 2019 when it started. And the current Chief of Defense Staff since September 2020 is General Anil Chauhan. So unfortunately, General Bipin Rawat passed away in a helicopter crash while he was on his way to DSS, Defense Service Staff College, Wellington. And then after that, General Anil Chauhan, he is the correct Chief of Defense Staff. So we saw that chart, and what we saw is that the Indian Army, it is ranked the 4th military power in the world as per the Global Firepower Index, right? So the Indian Army is a vast army. It's more than 1 million soldiers on active duty, right? More than 10 lakh, and it is the second largest army in the world, and it is ranked the 4th military power of the world. First, of course, were the other three, and the headquarters, of course, is at New Delhi. And who is the head? He is the Chief of the Army Staff, COAS. He is a 4-star general. So we call him general, right? The nomenclature that we use to address the Chief of the Army Staff is called general. It's a 4-star general. So basically, brigadier, if you look at the stars, it is like this. The brigadier is a 1-star general. The major general is a 2-star general. The lieutenant general is a 3-star general. The general is actually a 4-star general, and above him is a 5-star general, which is the field marshal, right? So we have just had 2 field marshals. So this is how the staff arrangement is there. So there is a line and staff arrangement everywhere. So how it is? This is a 4-star general. We saw it is a 4-star general. Then we have the operational commands. They have like a lieutenant general. Then we have the corps. So they are having again a lieutenant general. It has normally 3 to 4 divisions. Then we have divisions, right? So they are by a major general who is a 2-star general. So they have 3 to 4 brigades. Then we have the brigade. So it is had a brigade commander, brigadier, who is a 1-star general, right? Then below that we have battalions and regiments. So they have normally a colonel who is a head, right? Then we have rifle companies, and they are normally by a lieutenant colonel, right? Then here if you see a training command, there is a training command who is normally lieutenant general. There are training establishment. Then there are static formation areas, again commanded by a lieutenant general, 3 general. Then there are sub areas which are major general. Then again there are lieutenant general, major generals here, so category. So all these are basically different institutions or establishments of the army which are governed. Or here if you go, then you have platoon commanders, right? So platoon is commanded by a JCO and a section is commanded by a Havildar, right? So this is how the system works. So we have company, section, platoon, company. Then we have battalion, brigade, division and corps. That is how the structure is done. Now the highest rank in the military is actually the field marshal. It is a 5-star rank and it is a ceremonial position of great honor. So field marshal is not someone who is in active duty. It is a position that is given as a ceremonial honor. Okay, and only two officers till date have been awarded field marshal rank. So first is General SHFJ Sam Manekshaw, normally known as Sam Bahadur, right? So he was the head of operations in, like the commander chief in the Bangladesh 1971 Liberation War, right? And he was conferred the rank on 1st January 1973. So after the war, yes, he was a general at that time, and he became and second field marshal was General K.M. Karippa. He was conferred the rank on 15 January 1986. So what it says is that these are ceremonial ranks. After they have done a great feat or a great achievement, they are conferred. Now, the motto is service before self. And what is the minimum enrollment age? Is 17.5 years. 17.5 years, normally it is for entry level positions, right? If you want to be an officer, mostly you have to complete some basic training either after your 12th or after your graduation. And what are the special forces called? It is called the para special forces. So they are the special forces. They are established in June 1966. And this is the logo or emblem of the special forces. So here if you say it's written, which is sacrifice. Now we saw the command structure. We'll just have a look at it. So how many commands does the Indian Army have? It has 6 operational and 1 training. So total 7 commands, and each are headed by a general officer commanding in chief, which is the rank of the lieutenant general. And each command directly reports to the Indian Army HQ in New Delhi. So the general sits in the Indian Army HQ in New Delhi, and all the commands report to him. Commands are at different locations. So what are the locations? Let us see. First is Central Command, which is at Lucknow, Central Command. Then we have Eastern Command, which is at Kolkata, Eastern Command at Kolkata. Northern Command at Udhampur, which is in Jammu. Southern Command in Pune, right? Then we have the Southwestern Command in Jaipur. So it is here. Then we have the Western Command in Chandi Mandir, which is here. And then we have the Army Training Command, which is in Shimla. So these are the 7 commands. Now let us look at the rank structure of the Indian Army. So Indian Army has a basic rank structure. It's called what you call a hierarchical structure. So at the bottom is the lieutenant. So here is the lieutenant. It's 2 stars. You must be wondering what 1 star is. 1 star used to be a post called second lieutenant. Second lieutenant was there, but then it was discontinued. Now anyone who gets commissioned in the Indian Army, he starts with the post of lieutenant. Then after that we have captain. Captain is 3 stars. And then we have major, Ashok Stamba. Then we have the lieutenant colonel, a star and Ashok Stamba. Then the colonel, Ashok Stamba and 2 stars. Then brigadier, Ashok Stamba and 3 stars, right? Then the major general we have cross swords and a star. Then lieutenant general, cross swords and an Ashok Stamba, and general, which is cross swords, star and Ashok Stamba. And then we have the field marshal, right? Ashok Stamba, this wreath and so this is how the officers structure is there in the Indian Army. Now let us look at some prominent personalities in the Indian Army. So the first army chief was General Sir Robert Lockhart. He was a British officer and he was appointed as the independent India's first commander in chief. So what happened was, the first, it was called the Royal Indian Army. Now what happened was, it was divided between India and Pakistan. Now they needed officers to head this. So here he became the Robert Lockhart. Then who was General K.M. Cariappa? He was the first Indian to be appointed as the commander in chief of the Indian Army. So after Lockhart, who was a Britisher, first Indian to be appointed as the commander in chief of the Indian Army was General K.M. Cariappa, right? So 15 January is commemorated as Army Day. Why is it commemorated? To mark the day when General K.M. Cariappa took over as the charge of the commander in chief. So the day when the Indian Army got its first Indian commander in chief, that is the day when we celebrate Army Day. So it is 15 January. Who is the current? It is General Upendra Dwivedi. So he is the present chief of the army staff and assumed office on this 30th of June 2024. Now what about the role of women in the Indian Army? Yes, the Indian Army also has a strong presence, a strong representation of women. Now we know that women are allowed even in, they will be allowed maybe in combat role also, but they are doing a lot of roles, lot of support roles and a lot of important roles in the Indian Army right now. So let us look at the contribution of women. So the Punita Arora is the first woman lieutenant general. So we saw lieutenant general is the second highest rank, right? Second highest operational rank, and she is there. Then Priya Chinkan is the first woman to join the Indian Army. So Gertrude Alice Ram is the first woman major general in the Indian Army. Divya Ajit Kumar, first woman in the Indian Army to receive the coveted Sword of Honor. So it is for training. Then Captain Tanya Shergill, so first woman adjutant for India's Republic Day parade. So on the Republic Day parade, there are processions, there are marching bands of different contingents. So one of that, the first one, right? Then Captain Ruchi Sharma, she is the first female operational paratrooper. So you know, paratroopers are, it's a very highly demanding task, and that is why to achieve such a feat for the first time, it is something which is noteworthy. Now let us look at the borders. So we saw in our previous topic, we had India size and location. We saw our international borders. There are some borders which are a bit under dispute. So if you see, the first is the line of so first is the line of control, right? So it is the military control line between India and Pakistan in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So it is somewhere here, right? Then there is the line of actual control. So it is the military control line in the Union Territory of Ladakh. So it is somewhere here, right? Then there is the Dunayan line. It is the international border that separates India from Afghanistan. There is small sliver, which actually right now it is in POK. Then there is the Radcliffe line. So between India and Pakistan, this is the Radcliffe line. Then there is a McMahon line. So it is the border between India and China. This is the original border. So it is here, here it is interstate. So there are some other countries also. In some places we have a direct border with China. Then we have the coastline. This is the Bangladesh border is also there. It was actually a part of the old Radcliffe line because Bangladesh was originally East Pakistan, but then in 1971 it became separated. This is the border with Myanmar. Here we have the border with Nepal, and this is the border with Bhutan. Other countries we don't have a direct, we have a sea border, so we have a coastline as well. So we have a different wars. Indian Army fought a lot of wars after independence. So there were certain commanders at that point of time. Let us have a look at them. So in the Indo-China War 1962, General Prannath Thapar was the commander-in-chief. In Indo-Pakistan War, it was Jayantullah Chaudhary. Then Indo-Pakistan War, which was in 1971, which was Bangladesh liberation, as we said, it was Field Marshal S.S. Sam Manekshaw. Then in the Indo-Pakistan War, Kargil War 99, it was General Ved Prakash Malik. Now, because the defense structure or all the defense establishments come under the Ministry of Defense, let us have a look at who is the defense ministers during different wars. So in the Indo-Pakistan War 1947-48, it was Baldev Singh. Indo-China War, it was V.K. Krishna Menon. Indo-Pakistan War of 1965, it was Yashwantrao Chauhan. Indo-Pakistan War of 1971, it was Jagjivan Ram. And the Indo-Pakistan War of 1999, it was George Fernandez. Now let us look at some of the major operations of the Indian Army. So the Indian Army took part in a lot of operations post-independence. There are a few operations that are worth mentioning, which are very critical or which are very important. So let us have a look at them. The first operation is of course Operation Polo 1948. This was done to end the rule of the Nizam in Hyderabad. The Nizam of Hyderabad at that point of time after independence wanted to create a separate dominion, which was not in the interest of the people of India. There were immense amount of torture and atrocities committed against the people of what is now Telangana and Marathwada, and people rose in revolt, but then it was very difficult to crush, so the Indian army was called in, and the Indian army executed a very daring and very swift operation called Operation Polo, and that led to the incorporation of the princely state of Hyderabad in the Indian Union. So this is September 17, 1948 in Marathwada, which was a part of the earlier Nizam dominion. It is celebrated as Marathwada Mukti Sangram Din. So it is a day commemorating the liberation of Marathwada from the atrocious rule of the Nizams. Then we have Operation Vijay 1961. So it was for the capture of Goa, Daman and Diu from the Portuguese colonial control. So even after independence, we achieved independence from the British, but the Portuguese still had control of certain areas like Goa. So Goa was a major territory, and so we the Indian Army initiated an operation called Operation Vijay in 1961, and it led to the liberation of Goa. It was done on the 19th of December. Let us look at a few more operations. This is Operation Blue Star in 1984. The Golden Temple, which is the Harmandir Sahib in Amritsar, Punjab, it was occupied by terrorists of the Khalistani movement called Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale and his followers. And so for that, the Indian Army came up with Operation Blue Star to evacuate or to get rid of them from the Golden Temple complex, which is a holy site of the Sikhs, the holiest of the sites, right? Then again Operation Vijay 1999, right? So what happened there was, in the winter we used to leave the post and come back, and after the winter when we went to occupy the post, we saw that the Pakistanis had occupied them, and then they had to be flushed out, they had to be defeated, which was done in Operation Vijay, right? So all the military posts that had been occupied by Pakistan troops and militants, so that was done. So 26 July is celebrated as Kargil Vijay Divas. That is the day when the operation was complete. Now let us look at some other major operations. So first is the Operation Meghdut, which was done in 1984 to control the Siachen Glacier, which is the most important point. It's a connecting point between the Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, and it is a very important point in Indian geopolitical scenario, which was full control was achieved in 1984 through Operation Meghdut. Operation Pawan and Virat, they were the and Trishul again, they were the Indian peacekeeping forces operation in Sri Lanka. So we had to send a peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka because of the war, the proxy civil war which was going on between the LTTE, which is the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, and the Sri Lankan government. So it was a ethnic war which was going on, and then it kind of spiraled into a full-blown civil war. So Indian forces had to go there, and they showed extreme bravery and exemplary courage in that operation. Then we have Operation Black Tornado and Operation Cyclone. So there was a terrorist attack in Mumbai in 2008, and to neutralize the terrorists who had taken refuge in some prominent landmarks of Mumbai, Operation Black Tornado and Operation Cyclone was there. Then there is Operation Sahyog 2018, which was for the Kerala flood rescue. Then in 2021 we had the Operation Devi Shakti. So US forces had occupied Afghanistan for a long time, but when the US forces withdrew, what happened was the Taliban took over, and it was a very challenging and very perilous time for the expats, especially the Indians and other religions, people of other religions, because Taliban is known to be a hardline Islamist regime. So other religions, specifically Hindus and Sikhs, they were under some peril. It was deemed necessary to evacuate them, and so Indian citizens from Afghanistan were rescued after the Taliban takeover. Then there is Operation Ganga 2022. When the war, Russia-Ukraine war started, there were a lot of people of Indian origin in Ukraine, primarily students who had gone there to do medical studies, MBBS and all. So they had to be rescued, which was done by Operation Ganga. So there was a corridor was created, and people could move out. Now let us look at some tanks. So what essentially is the tank? The tank is an invention from the First World War. British kind of mastered it, and if you see earlier, there used to be the infantry and the cavalry. The cavalry was mostly horses. The cavalry was slowly and steadily replaced by tanks. So what are the tanks? Let us look at it. So we have the Arjun tank, which was developed by the DRDO, and it has been serviced in 2004. So these are the Arjun, two varieties of the Arjun tank. Then we have the T-90 Bhishma, which came from Russia in 92. The T-90 is actually an upgrade over the T-72 also, right? So this is the T-90 Bhishma. And then we have Vijayanta, which is the first indigenous battle tank of the India. It was there from 1965 till 2008. This is the Vijayanta. Then we have the T-22 Ajay, which again came from Russia in 1973. It is there. The T-72. So T-72 was very popular, let's say, and then we have the BM-2 Saraj again came. So now India is again in the development of more and more advanced tank technology. You see, with in the Russia-Ukraine war, you have seen a lot of changes have taken place in battlefields and battle dynamics, and depending on that, the defense sector or the defense establishment will work accordingly. Now we saw a lot of information about the Indian Army. Let us look at some new information on the Indian Navy, right? So the Indian Navy was originally called the Royal Indian Navy. It was developed by the British, and once it after independence, it was transferred to the government of India. So it is the maritime branch of the Indian Armed Forces. So they take care of all related to seas, waters, all those areas are taken care by the Indian Navy, right? So it is the headed by the Chief of Naval Staff, which is a 4-star admiral post. So the Chief of the Navy is called Admiral, just like he's called the General in Indian Army. Navy, the equivalent rank is an Admiral. So the current Chief is Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, who assumed office on 30th April 2024. And what happens, the Chief of Naval Staff is assisted by the Vice Chief of Naval Staff, who holds the post of a Vice Admiral. So there is Admiral and Vice Admiral. Now Vice Admiral Krishna Swaminathan, he is the current Vice Chief of the Naval Staff, and he assumed office on 1st May 2024. What is the motto of the Indian Navy? It is Shamano Varunaha, which means may the Lord of Water be auspicious. So Varun is the Lord of Water, and he is supposed to grace the oceans, grace the seas, and we are calling for his blessings. So where does the Indian Navy have training bases? In Gujarat, Karnataka, Goa, Maharashtra, Lakshadweep, Kerala, Odisha, everywhere where we have sea borders. And one of the oldest naval bases is INS Shivaji, which is located in Lonavala in Maharashtra. Now, what is the Special Forces unit? Like in the Army, they have Para-SF, Para Special Forces. In the Navy, it is the Marcos, which is the Marine Commandos. It was founded in February 1987, right? And INS Kadamba, it is the biggest naval base. So it is built under Project Seaboard near Karwar in Karnataka, right? It is the biggest sea base in Asia. It is that big, that naval base, and it is mostly used for building ships, right? And apart from that, we have built our own indigenous aircraft carrier. The previous aircraft carriers were from Russia. They were mostly taken from Russia, imported from Russia. But we have managed to build our own independent indigenous aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant. So there was a INS Vikrant previously, and this is the new, and it is constructed by the Cochin shipyard in Kochi, Kerala, for the Indian Navy, right? So what happens is, why do we need an aircraft carrier? An aircraft carrier is like a floating island in the middle of the sea. So wherever you have an aircraft carrier, it is the main component of a carrier strike group. So there will be corvettes, there will be frigates and all of things, but it is the main component of the carrier strike group, and its main aim is to provide the base for that operation. Now the Indian Navy has 2 operational commands and 1 training command, right? So each headed by a flag officer commanding in chief, and the rank is vice admiral, so below. So what are the commands? Let us have a look at them. So the first is the Western Command, which is there in Mumbai here, headed by Vice Admiral Krishna Swaminathan. Then there is the Eastern Naval Command at Visakhapatnam by Vice Admiral Rajesh Pendarkar, and the Southern Naval Command at Kochi. Yeah. It is by Vennam Srinivas. So as we have discussed, INS Shivaji, which is our first naval base. Then this is the aircraft carrier Vikrant. You see, this is the long runway strip for aircraft landing. Then we have INS Kadamba, the largest naval base in Asia. Ships are built here, and the Indian Navy Marine Commandos. So they are the elite forces of the Indian Navy. Now let us look at the organization of the Indian Navy. So as we said, there is the Western Naval Command, the Eastern Naval Command, and the Southern Naval Command, and then there are different, right? So they have West, then they have Gujarat, Mumbai, shore establishments are there. In here, and the Eastern Naval Command we have Visakhapatnam, then Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Odisha, Tuticorin, right? Then Southern Naval Command, there are the training establishments, right? The training schools. Other than Karnataka, Kerala, Lakshadweep, all these establishments are there. So if you saw in the army, there were epaulets which are worn on the shoulders, but in Navy there are epaulets as well as there are sleeves. So it's a bit different structure, but the basic remains the same. So let us see what are the different ranks. So first is the Admiral of the Fleet, which is ceremonial. Then we have the Admiral, which is actual operational, Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, Commodore, Captain, Commander, Lieutenant and Sub-Lieutenant, right? So the Admiral of the Fleet, right, it is a senior naval officer rank. It is equivalent to Field Marshal and Marshal of the Air Force, but no officer in the Indian Navy has yet been conferred that rank. Now let us see Admiral of the Fleet. It is like this, and the sleeve is like this. It's almost the same but different, right? So there are 4 strips here. Then there is Admiral, 3 strips here. Vice Admiral, 2 strips. Rear Admiral, 1 strip, right? Then the Commander, no strip, only this band. Captain, there are no bands, 4 strips. Commander, we have 3. Then Lieutenant Commander, 2, and Sub-Lieutenant, 1. So this is how it is. So almost equivalent to the Indian Army. All the 3 professional services have almost similar rank structures. It is to maintain the let us look at some of the important roles taken up by women. So First Lady Vice Admiral in the Navy, again Punita Arora. Then first woman officer in the to attain the rank of Commander, Dr. Barbara Ghosh, and first woman sailor from Northeast India is Lieutenant S. Vijaya Devi, right? Then let us look at some Indian Navy operations. The biggest operation of the Indian Navy was during the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971, where they executed Operation Trident, which was the attack on the Karachi port. So the first is Operation Trident. So it was done on 4th of December during the Indo-Pak War, right? And this day, 4th December, is celebrated as the Navy Day. So because of this operation, 4th of December was started we started celebrating it as Navy Day, right? And it was an enormous success. Then Operation Python, again it was a successor of the Operation Trident, and there was another successful attack on Karachi on December 8, 1979, known as Operation Python. It was kind of broke the back of the Pakistani Navy. It kind of destroyed Pakistani Navy there. Then there were some operations, peacetime operations, Operation Rahat. So it was done by Indian Armed Force in 2015. Again, evacuation of people from war-hit Yemen. So what happened was, Yemen is a country in the Arabian Peninsula close to Saudi Arabia, and it got too much embroiled in civil war. There was a civil war. There is a Houthi presence in Yemen. The Houthis are rebel sea pirates. So to evacuate our citizens from there, the Indian Navy and the Indian government ran the operation, and the ship that was deployed to do that operation was INS Sumitra. Then Operation Talwar, it is a naval operation carried out by Indian Navy during Kargil War. Although Kargil War was fought there, Indian Navy also participated in operations. Operation Cactus, right? That was to pacify the situation in Maldives in 1988. So there was a coup in Maldives. Maldives has a suzerainty. We have suzerainty over Maldives, which means a lot of Maldives decisions, like they are taken up by the Indian government. So there, to take control of that coup and to pacify the situation, to bring the situation to normal. So two ships were sent, INS Godavari and INS Betwa. Then there was Operation Kaveri. Operation Kaveri was done on 24th April 2024. So Sudan had a civil war where it was broken into two parts, Sudan and South Sudan. At that time also, Indian citizens had to be evacuated during this conflict. So this is the photos of the Operation Trident and Operation Python. So that is why I celebrate 4th of December as Indian Navy Day. And then these were the articles regarding the 1971 war. Talwar was again for the Kargil war. This is the operation for Cactus in Maldives. So what happened there? And this was the evacuation of people from Sudan. Now let us look at the Indian Air Force. So the Indian Air Force is almost the third among the strongest air force in the world, and it was established on 8th October 1932, called the Royal Indian Air Force. So because it was a part of the British military establishment, it was called the Royal Indian Air Force. So the chief of the air staff is the Air Chief Marshal. He is a 4-star officer, and he is responsible for the command of the Air Force. So he is the main operational commander, right? Then the motto of the Indian Air Force is, of course, touch the sky with glory. Just have a look at it here if you see. Now Nabha Sparsha Deepatam, touch the sky with glory. So the day of establishment of the Indian Air Force, which is 8th of October 1930. So every year 8th of October is celebrated as Indian Air Force Day to official experiment. Now the special force of the Indian Air Force is called the Garud Commando Force. So the Garud Commando Force, it is a special force, and it was established in February 6, 2024. So there is a very nice comparison here, if you look at it very nicely. So if you look at it, US has almost 13,047 aircraft, Russia has 4,173, China 3,285, we have 2,186. So very powerful air force with a very small period of time. It has shown to be one of the most powerful air forces in the world. Then this is the motto, as we said, motto of the Indian Air Force. And let us look at the command. So there is the Western Air Command, the Eastern Air Command at Shillong, Central Air Command at Prayagraj, Southwestern Air Command at the Southern Air Command at then we have the Maintenance Command at Nagpur and the Training Command at Bangalore. This is the IF's Garud Commander Force. So, who is the Chief of the Air Staff? The first Commander-in-Chief, because it was the Royal Indian Air Force, it was a Britisher, Air Marshal Sir Thomas Roper. Then, first Indian Commander-Chief, Chief of Air Staff is Air Marshal Subrata Mukherjee, is called the father of the Indian Air Force. And right now, current is the Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh. Right. So what are the ranks? If you see it, if you go from this flying officer, then flight lieutenant 2, then squadron leader is 3, then wing commander, right? And we have group captain, then air commodore, then we have air vice marshal, air marshal, and Air Chief Marshal, and Marshal of the Indian Air Force. Marshal of the Air Force. So there is only one person, one officer who is promoted to the 5-star rank of Marshal of the Indian Air Force, which is equivalent to Admiral of the Fleet or Field Marshal, and that is Arjun Singh. Arjun Singh was the only officer. The only officer who was promoted as the 5-star rank, which is the Marshal of the Indian Air Force. So let us look at the contribution of women in the Indian Air Force. The first woman Air Marshal of Indian Air Force was Padma Bandyopadhyay. The first woman pilot to fly solo was Harita Kaur Deval. And the first women fighter pilots, they were Avni Chaturvedi, Bhavna Kant and Mohana Singh. And first women pilots to fly in the combat zone during the Kargil war. So in the combat zone also, there's Gunjan Saxena and Sri Vidya Rajan. So these are names that we can remember. This is the contribution of women in the Indian Air Force. Now let us look at what are the different Air Force operations. So first is Operation Meghdut, which was for Siachen. With the Indian Army, they did the operation to take control of Siachen. Then there was Operation Pumalai 1987 for the Jaffna relief. So Jaffna is a peninsula, it's a part of Sri Lanka where ethnic strife was very marked. It was almost in the grip of a civil war, and for that. Then there is Operation Cactus, which is the Maldives coup. The Navy and the Air Force, everyone took part in it. It was a tri-services operation. Then there was of course Operation Safed Sagar in Kargil war, where the Indian Air Force, even at such high altitudes and locations, they did precision strikes on the enemy positions, which helped there. Then a very prominent was the Atlantic incident in the Run of Kutch. So there was a Pakistani surveillance plane, a spy plane, which had crossed into the Indian border in the Run of Kutch, and some fighter jets were scrambled to intercept it. They tried to warn it, it turned away, it was shot down. It's called the Atlantic incident. Then of course the Operation Rahat in 2003, there was the flood rescue of civilians. So in flood rescue normally the Indian Air Force does a lot of work. Then there was Operation Maitri, quake relief in Nepal. Nepal faced a very devastating earthquake, and that is why relief had to be sent in urgency to Nepal. Then if Operation Sankat Mochan, again from South Sudan, we had operation from the Navy as well as. Then Operation Insaniyat for the assistance for Bangladesh. Bangladesh was in the grip of a crisis during floods, and then one of the major operations was the Balakot airstrikes, Operation Bandar. So after the Pulwama attack, Indian Air Force bombed and destroyed the positions in Pakistan. So there Muzafarabad, Balakot, those were important. Then Operation Ganga, which was the Russian-Ukraine evacuation. So people had to be evacuated from Ukraine because of the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war. There were a lot of Indians stranded in Ukraine, mostly students, and they were evacuated through this thing. Then there is Operation Dost, again for Turkey and Syria. There was an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. So if you see, all the branches of the Indian Defence Forces have not just taken part in operations for our military operations, but also in civilian and relief operations. Now let us look at the few combat aircrafts of the Indian Air Force. So Dassault Rafale, which is the new aircraft that we have taken from France, that is a Rafale, it's a multi-role aircraft. Then again there is Sukhoi 30. Sukhoi 30 is a multi-role aircraft. Then there is MiG-29 from Russia, right? Before Rafale, we had Mirage 2000, which was used very it was used very prominently in the Kargil war, Mirage 2000. Now HL Tejas, it is made in India, right? So Tejas is a multi-role aircraft which is made completely in India. It's a combat aircraft. And then we had the Sipcat Jaguar, which was from France and United Kingdom, which was our previous aircraft. Now we also have some aircrafts in development. So we have the Omni-role combat aircraft, then we have the stealth multi-role fighter, then we have fighter trainers, multi-role helicopters. So different aircrafts are under. Then the most iconic of all the aircraft is of course the MiG-21, which is now decommissioned. Just recently the last squadron of MiG-21 was decommissioned, and the Air Chief Marshal actually took a sortie in it. So these are again helicopters are also produced. Now apart from these branches of the military like the Army and Air Force, we also have a very robust, and as it was proved in Operation Sindoor, a very potent and precision oriented missile system, both in defense as well as in offense. So let us look at a few of the missiles that we have, important missiles of India. So these are all the missiles. They have taken a screenshot, but if you see, all our missiles have different roles and different jobs. So Astra is an air-to-air missile. You can fire it from aircrafts. K-100 is again an air-to-air missile. Helena is an anti-tank missile. So for tank regiments, Helena is used. Then there is Nirbhay, which is a subsonic cruise missile, and BrahMos, which is a supersonic cruise missile. And during Operation Sindoor, people understood what is the importance and what is the potency of general. Then we have a Prithvi Air Defense, which is a defense missile to intercept incoming missiles. Barak-8, which is a surface-to-air missile, again for interruption. Then we have Akash and Trishul. So what happened is, during the Operation Sindoor, we had S-400 battery, we had Barak missiles, and we had Akash missiles. And all three of them were used in combination to stop the attack from the Pakistan. Then we have the Agni series. So we'll just have a look at them in brief. So Agni 1, again a first stage 700 to 1200 kilometer. Agni 2 is 2000 to 2500. Agni 3 is 3000 to 500. Agni 4 is again 3000 to 400. And Agni 5 is, this is almost an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. These can be called IRBMs, intermediate range ballistic missile. So we have moved, and if you see, this is just one stage, two stage, this is just 3-stage rocket. So that is how powerful and how potent our system, missile system has become. So as I said, Agni 2, Agni 3, these are all surface to surface missiles. Then we have Agni 4, Agni 5, Agni 6 is in defense. Then we have Prithvi missiles. Prithvi again, Prithvi 1, Prithvi 2, Prithvi 3, these are all. Then we had Dhanush and Prahar. So these are how the missiles are stacked up. This is Prahar, Prithvi 1, Prithvi 2, Dhanush, right? Then we have the missile, ballistic missile defense. These are different. Then there are certain missiles which are even submarine launched. So Sagarika, K4, K5. K4 is again Kalam. It's right. This is for in honor of our late president Sagarika. These are all submarine launched ballistic missiles. So we don't have to keep the missile only on the ground. It can be launched from a submarine anywhere in the sea. Right. So these are some of the missiles. So we have all these Agni 5 and these are missiles are there. Prithvi 1, Prithvi 2, Dhanush K15. So all these missiles are. Then again the most powerful and the most widely discussed missile is the BrahMos, which is actually a collaboration between India and Russia. So former President APJ Abdul Kalam is rightly called the missile man of India. He also contributed to India's Pokhran 2 nuclear test. So not just in all the sectors where related to defense, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has a very significant contribution. So we had this integrated guided missile development program, and the first missile was developed was Prithvi. And BrahMos is the fastest supersonic cruise missile in the world. So a cruise missile actually travels only in the troposphere, so it's very hard to intercept. It does not take the aerial route, does not go into the stratosphere and come back. It actually, it will hit, if it this, it will hit like this. It won't go like this. No, it won't do that. Right? So it is very hard to intercept. And how is it called BrahMos? It is named after two rivers, Brahmaputra of India and Moscow of Russia. And in Agni 5, as we saw, almost 5,500 to 8,000 kilometer range, and it is the longest range missile that can carry a nuclear warhead. So these are all nuclear warhead capable missiles. It is a very potent deterrent. And the K series missiles that are for underwater launch ballistic missiles, and they are named after Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So these can be launched from submarines. So there is no need to put them on land. You can keep them in submarines. You can move them around, and it can be launched. Now let us look at the different military academies of India. So what has happened is, because we have a military, we need a training establishment, a academy structure, so that young people are groomed and they are prepared for the task in the army, because it is no easy task. It is a task which requires immense courage, immense patriotism, and immense hard work, and to face difficulties of the highest order. So what are the military academies we have? So Rashtriya Indian Military College in Dehradun, it is almost up to 12. It is a feeder institution for the NDA. And the National Defence College in New Delhi, it is again for the army. Right? Then College of Defence Management in Secunderabad. Then we have the Defence Services Staff Colleges in Medical, it is for all. Military Institute of Technology in Pune. Right? So this is the NDA. Right? This is the IMA in Dehradun, Indian Military Academy. Right? This is the Air Force Academy and the Indian Naval Academy in Elimala. Then the National Defence Academy, which is the premier institution for people who will join. So Sainik School, RIMC, RMS, they all act as a feeder to the National Defence Academy. They prepare students for the National Defence Academy exam, and then they get entry into National Defence Academy after clearing the exam. Then we have the Army War College in Mhow, Madhya Pradesh. NDA is of course in Khadakwasla, Pune. Then we have the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. Officers Training Academy, there are two actually, one in Chennai, one in Gaya. And then the High Altitude Warfare School in Gulmarg, it's a very unique institution that we have, because we need to fight at high altitude. We have a lot of borders which are at high altitude, made of mountainous terrain. So we have that. Then there is Army Air Defence College at Gopalpur in Odisha. So this here is the Defence Service Staff College, we talked about it. College of Military Engineering, High Altitude Warfare School in Gulmarg. College of Military Engineering in Pune. Then we have the Indian Naval Academy, Elmira, we saw it. Then the Naval War College in Goa. This is the Army War College in Mhow. Then College of Air Warfare in Sikandrabad. So concerning war, all are there. This is the RIMC, which is a feeder institution. Then there are Tactics and Air Combat Development Establishment in Gwalior, Flying Instructor School Tamram, Chennai, Air Force Administrative College in Coimbatore. These are certain colleges. Now, again there is Indian Air Force Test Pilot School in Bangalore. So there are different types of institutions, military establishment, both pre-commission and post-commission, which means before they become defense officers and after they become defense officers, all these institutions are working to create a robust and powerful defense establishment. Then what is the role of Sainik School? So the Sainik Schools, they are the group of schools established by the Ministry of Defense in 1961 under V.K. Krishnamenon, then Defense Minister of India. So they said that we need more feeder institutions for India, so we should prepare more people for India. So the most recent Sainik School, the most earliest Sainik School was of course Sainik School Satara. This is Sainik School Gorakhal, one of the premier Sainik schools, and there are total 33 old Sainik schools. We had 18 previously, then 15 added, 33 and the government has now come up with a policy to have more Sainik schools. So there are 14 new Sainik schools which have been authorized. These are not under the Ministry of Defense directly, Sainik School Society, but the 33 Sainik schools are in the Ministry of Defense. So this is all the information we studied about the Indian defense system. From this, we have come to know that the Indian defense system is a robust, it's a powerful, it's a well recognized and feared defense system which has been working day and night tirelessly for the protection of the sovereignty, integrity of this country and its citizens. So I hope you like this lecture. Please don't forget to follow our YouTube channel and like, share and subscribe the videos that you see on them. And we will come back with a new topic in the next class. Till then, please have a great day. Goodbye. Thank you.